Yeah, is Seward around?
Yeah, have you got a complaint on me?
I did.
For what?
There's a gentleman that says that you're harassing him.
Who?
Mr. Charles Waters. He says that you're,
Yeah, he's
you're
Jackie
constantly...
Mack's buddy. He's Jackie Mack's buddy. You've got the camera running on me now, right? Okay, we're on camera? All right, are you taking me in? Are you here to arrest me?
Listen. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. That's all I'm
Okay,
here for.
Charlie Waters is a board member.
Okay.
He is Jackie Mack's best friend
Okay.
on the board.
Okay.
Charlie Waters has given Jackie Mack's favorite charity over the years probably $100,000 from the golf course because he's the treasurer
Okay.
of the HOA.
Okay.
Him and I disagree a lot on the way the HOA is run.
All right.
All right? This isn't the first time. Every time I go to the HOA, I'm not allowed to talk.
Okay.
He asked what happened yesterday in a meeting. I went to the board meeting, and I'm going to request a video of this too.
Absolutely.
What I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Right? He's given me an invitation now to tell my story. And
Okay.
if you stand there as long as you want to stand there and listen.
Well, I'm on until 3 o'clock, so.
Okay. Well, here's what happened. I went to a board meeting. I was invited to go to a board meeting.
Okay.
It says this is a board meeting that you can attend and observe.
Okay.
I went. All the board members were there and the manager. Me and another person were the only civilians in the room.
Okay.
Well, there was 2 others, plus the architectural committee. Okay?
Right.
All right. Well, as it was quite a long meeting, it lasted about 3 hours. When they took a break after about an hour and a half, they took a break to go to the bathroom. Well, the other people left. I stayed.
All right.
I was the only civilian in the room, the only member who wasn't a board member, and I listened to them hash out a lot of information. When
Okay.
they broke the meeting up, Charlie Waters invited me. Since I had been sitting there, Charlie says, "Did you have something that you would like to say?" The meeting was broke up. The manager was gone and half the board members. So there was only 4 board members in the room and me.
Okay.
All right, I was trying to get a point across to the architectural about an architectural issue I had with my gutters last year.
Okay.
I was trying to clarify when they send me a letter saying that I'm approved for an architectural committee, that I'm approved to do something.
Okay.
That's a legal document. If you send me that letter, it's a legal document. It's a standalone legal document. It's on your paperwork. It says you're approved to put the gutters on because you have applied. I went to the meeting. In the meeting they told me you're approved. A week later I got the letter saying you're approved.
Okay.
Now if you want to step out here and I'll show you what took place during that month and a half. Now, are you still looking at me? Okay, you see this right here?
Mm-hmm.
You see that monkey motion down there, all that piping?
Okay.
All right, there's a manifold at the bottom of that downspout.
Okay.
All right, that manifold is connected to a tube, and I had to dig a hole underneath the sidewalk, and I dug a ditch, and I installed a tube out here because once we got the water out of the gutters, we had to get it to the street.
Okay.
And that's why I went through all this monkey motion. So after I got the letter,
Mm-hmm.
I called up the estimate, and the people installed it. They were amazed that I had approval that fast.
Okay.
They couldn't believe that I got approval that fast.
Okay.
And the reason you're here, I'm going to interrupt here. The reason Charlie Waters has filed this complaint, because I was the only one in the room, and I was listening to everything the board was saying, and I had a right to be there. Charlie Waters, with having you come here and approach me, is trying to set up a record where I'm a problem to the HOA. They're trying to take away my rights.
Okay.
All right, a month and a half after I got the approval letter, one of the architectural people who wasn't in the meeting that day, he was out flying his airplane, his name is Chuck, came by and he saw my gutters and they weren't all the same color.
Okay.
So he made the comment, they all have to be the same color. It's the COA, it's the CCNRs. I said, Chuck, they've already been approved. You weren't at the meeting that day. You were out flying your airplane. That didn't help Chuck, because Chuck got all of a sudden, he got all pissed about that.
Okay.
Got a little wound up because I told him he was flying his airplane instead of being at a meeting where he should have been. Well, anyway, I was telling Chuck about the planning schedule. When they give me the plants to choose from, I told him, I said, I take this thing of like a couple hundred plants to Moon Valley Nursery, and the first thing the guy asked me is, where'd you get this list? They're not from here. Whoever made up this list doesn't live here in Arizona.
Okay.
We've only got a few plants to pick from.
Okay.
So you can take this list, whoever made it, and take it back. And I was just discussing that with Chuck. I said, Chuck, I just had to put a bunch of plants in. And I said, whoever made up this list, well, Chuck was sitting there and he kept looking at my gutters, and finally he goes, those aren't the same color. I go, I know. It's already been approved, Chuck. It's a moot point, Chuck. It's already been approved. I've got the letter of I got a legal document that says I put them up right. Well, he kept going on and on. He wouldn't listen to me. And finally I said to Chuck, I can't believe this access easement down here is so out of compliance. It doesn't match the plat map. I don't have a civil right to walk there because it doesn't match the plat map, so it's grossly out of compliance. Well, that tripped Chuck's trigger. Chuck, you can't talk to Chuck about the non-compliance of Track Day without having him. You ever see Mars Attack? You ever see that movie Mars Attack?
I have
Mars
not, sir.
Attack is you're being attacked by Mars, and the Martians are little green blobs, heads inside of glass things.
Okay.
Well, Chuck, if you mention Chuck, Track Day's non-compliance to Chuck, it's like watching the movie Mars Attack. The only way they could beat the Martians was country music.
Okay.
All right, the Martians had the Earth almost completely annihilated, except they went into a mobile home park where people were playing country music, and every time the Martians hear country music, their head explodes inside the grass. All right?
Okay.
That's the premise of the movie.
Okay.
That's why I tell you this story, because that's what happens to Chuck. Every time I talk to Chuck about Track Day, non-compliance.
Okay.
And now I'm a problem in the neighborhood. I've been a problem for Charlie. I've been a problem for the mayor. I've been a problem for everybody in Buckeye, because we happen to live in a parallel universe out here in Buckeye. I have a plat map, and this is for everybody in the city hall, the policeman, and everybody that's watching me now. I have a plat map that I went and got in downtown Phoenix. I went to the county seat. I went where they keep all the documents. I got the plat map. I brought it out here, and it says there's an access easement there. But that plat map has no jurisdiction in Buckeye. When I bring the plat map in Buckeye and I say there's supposed to be an access easement there, there isn't. So me and Charlie have been going around and around over this for 4 years. All right? So Charlie Waters, they don't want me in any more meetings. I was a disrupted. The fact that I was sitting there listening.
Okay.
And when he invited me to talk, all it was is, I'm going to invite you to talk to give you enough rope so that we can kick you out of this meeting. And tomorrow I can go to the police. And that's exactly what
So let me ask you a question first.
I try to explain. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you ever see Mr. Waters outside of these meetings?
Never, because I don't use. All right, I'll try to tell you. This is for the record. 12 years ago, I closed these houses.
Okay.
I had bought 3 houses. This house you see, turn around and I'll show you. I'll point you. See that house? I owned that house. I owned the house we're sitting in front of. And I own that house. That house is gone. I've got 2 left.
Okay.
So me and Charlie have been going round and round over this access easement for years.
Okay.
For 4 years, and they had to dig it out. I brought an engineer, the town engineer out here, and the town engineer immediately wrote it up.
Okay.
All right? And it never got fixed.
Okay.
I live in a homeowners association, and when they send me a letter and says, oh, you're out of compliance, I got 2 weeks at most a month before I'm going to generate a fine.
Okay.
They got a letter from the chief engineer of Buckeye 4 years ago that said, that's filled up. It's out of compliance. It threatens the houses in the neighborhood. I'm ordering you to dig it out. I'm ordering you as the town engineer, the top town engineer, I'm ordering you as the HOA for Sundance Active Adult to open that up and make it a drainage easement. Nothing happened for over a year. For a year, I sent letters to the HOA. I even had a meeting with Woody Scout and the town engineer downtown.
Okay.
Okay? We discussed this. Nothing happened. Not a shovel turn. For over a year. So I started walking it. Now, I'm from back east. I'm a New Yorker. I've lived in high density areas. New Yorkers take their access easements serious. Anybody from the back east, if you try to close an access easement that everybody uses, it isn't going to work. Except that the people.
Well, let me explain this to you. I'm not here for any kind of HOA violations,
well,
nothing like that.
You're here to hear the story.
Okay.
What happened between me and Charlie? First of all, Charlie wasn't the object yesterday. It was another board member that really I had.
Regardless, so Mr. Waters basically he doesn't want.
Incident
he just doesn't want you to keep harassing him.
Harassing him.
I understand if you're at a meeting and you have a question. That's a different story.
He invited me in a meeting to speak.
Correct. I got that part.
This is my official to
But
take
the thing
back.
is I'm asking you if you're making
I
contact
never
with
see him outside. I never have contact.
So what I would recommend doing, as far as any kind of
contact
violations, as far as the HOA go, that's got nothing to do with us.
Well, the thing of it is, if he hadn't invited me to speak yesterday, this wouldn't have happened. The meeting would have ended. I was getting up to walk her out the room. And Charlie, because I had been there for 3 hours, I had invested.
Why don't you run for the board then?
Yeah,
if you don't like them?
I ran for the board. That's another thing. I ran for the board.
Why don't you have other people run too that you know?
Because everybody's drinking Kool-Aid here. This whole neighborhood is drinking Kool-Aid. They've got everybody in this neighborhood convinced that that's not an access easement.
Okay.
All right, it is. If you go down there, you want to walk down and see what Charlie
That's got
Waters...
nothing to do with why I'm here.
It does. It does. Charlie Waters now does not want me in a meeting. I didn't have an argument with Charlie. I said one thing to Charlie.
All he wants you to do is just leave him alone. That's all he wants.
He came up to me in the store the other day to talk to me at Fry's. This started in Fry's. He came up and he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know because I was at a meeting. I was at a meeting a month ago and he had a microphone walking through the crowd. And he was busy, and I said to him, he came over with the mic for me to, I said, Charlie, I don't want to even, I'm not allowed to talk in meetings. I've been kicked out of 3 meetings. Every time I go to a meeting and start talking about track day, I'm immediately kicked out of the meeting. I've had 3 houses here. I've been here 12 years. Haven't missed a dues payment. I'm a dues paying member of the community, and when I go into the meetings, I'm not allowed to talk. Now, yesterday when Charlie invited me to explain the situation where 6 weeks after I got an approval to put on gutters, a guy that didn't make the meeting that day was able to go in a month later, after speaking to me and seeing that my gutters weren't the same color, he goes in, and 2 weeks before Christmas, I want to get this on record, 2 weeks before Christmas, the last official duty that the Architectural Committee did was to rescind my legal document, my approval on the orders of Chuck Milosevich. Chuck Milosevich went into the next meeting and said, his gutters, whether you approved them or not, are the wrong color. You send him a letter. So, while they went on, now I go on my website and I get a sign off from the Architectural Committee. We're out of town for 6 weeks. This was our last meeting on the 10th. All right, because of the holiday, we're not going to be here. You know what their last official business was on the 10th? To send me a letter giving me 2 weeks to repaint my gutters that I'd already had approval on.
Okay, but that's not why I'm here.
Well, that's why you're here. That's why you're here.
Listen,
that's why the story. Now, I was trying to tell the story to Charlie yesterday, and the guy that sent me the letter kept interrupting me. Every time I got to the point where I said...
That's the same thing you're doing to me, is interrupting me.
Well, you want the story.
Okay.
Well,
I just told you I don't...
You're telling me to stay away from somebody that I have absolutely no contact with.
He's just saying that you and him have some kind of issue, okay? Whatever that issue is, Just leave him alone. He's going to be told the same thing to leave you alone, okay? As far as the HOA meetings go, if you do come to the HO meetings, just be professional about it.
I
Okay.
was explaining. Okay.
So if there's something that's asked, if you have a question, you know, I don't know how they do it. I know some HOAs, they have you raise your hand, and then when they call on you, then you speak. There's other ways to go about it. You can run for a board member yourself.
I already did that.
Try to get somebody else to run with you, or try to, endorse somebody else.
I really understand what you're trying to get across to me. It's all moot, okay? I'm 68 years old.
Okay.
I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps, okay? I was right at the top as far as working in the air wing. I was an avionics specialist. I worked on the radar for the F-4J. I've had more education in technical school. I also worked for United Airlines, retired from them. I worked for US Air and retired from them. I've never been arrested before until I got arrested doing civil disobedience.
Okay.
When the town engineer wrote that up and ordered them to dig it out, they never dug it out. The first thing Charlie Waters did was go and give the mayor $30,000 there. And the mayor went into Public Works and said, put that on the back burner. We don't care if he's got a plat map. This is Buckeye. This is Buckeye. A plat map does not carry any jurisdiction out here in Buckeye. And that's what I'm going through. And when I go to talk to Charlie, and Charlie has a way of talking to you, what he does is he dismisses you. He goes, put it on paper, and he turns put it on a form, and he turns around.
Okay.
I'm being harassed. Do you see anything on my lot here that you would consider grossly out of compliance? I've got 3 letters charged against me right now.
Okay.
2 weeks ago or a month ago, I've got an hour and 47-minute video of a policeman doing exactly what you're doing. That guy in that White House came here from Nebraska. He hasn't been here all summer. All summer long, that easement has been used by people walking their dogs and golf course people.
Okay.
He's a snowbird. He came in here a month ago on his first day back from being away all summer, and he put 2 rusty rods in the middle of the access easement. You know why? Because for 10 years he illegally had that property all to himself. And now the HOA is going with the same story. He had it for 10 years all himself, but it was illegal. I got a letter here saying it was illegal to dig it out, and you never dug it out.
Here's the thing, sir. What I'm saying is...
the thing of it is, I'm trying to give you a background between me and Charlie. I don't care about Charlie.
Okay.
Charlie walks
Just
by
like I
my
said,
house every morning. He's in charge of the golf course.
Just ignore him. If you see him, ignore him. He
I
was
don't
told the
see
same
him. I
thing.
don't go to the clubhouse. I don't.
Well, then how do you know he walks by here all the time?
He plays golf. I live on a... Come here.
Okay.
Please, come.
Well, what I'm saying is...
No, you want to hear a story. You're here to hear the story. You're here to try to resolve an issue between me and Charlie. There is no issue between me and Charlie. I don't go actively looking for him.
Okay.
But the thing of it is, the guy in the room
So
yesterday...
do me a favor.
The guy that...
I'm right next to you, so you don't have to yell.
Well, I want to make sure they get it on the group.
No, it's a very high-quality system, so...
Policeman over there, and I know that I'm going to record. I'm going to let you know what happened. Okay? Charlie Waters, I see him go by every day.
Okay.
Okay? He goes by every day because he's a golfer.
Okay.
You know what I deal with on a day-to-day basis here?
Do tell.
You see where that tee box is?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got children in the family that like to come over and water my plants.
Okay.
They like to walk around here with a watering can, water my plants.
Okay.
What do you think I think about when I see a gorilla over there on the tee that's never swung a golf club before? Somebody your size. Somebody like you that's never played golf court before, and he's right there.
How do you know I've never played golf?
Well, if you have, you haven't. But I'm saying I can tell a new golfer.
Okay.
All right? And you've got new golfers here day in, day out. The reason I got arrested is because a golfer crossed my line. I came out and I assisted him off my property. When I did, I fell down.
Okay.
When he saw that I was fall down and compromised, he charged back onto my property, swung to my head.
Okay.
Okay? That's why they had cause to arrest me. Now, you know anything about civil law? Because nobody in Arizona does. Okay? like I said, I'm an East Coaster. For you to close that access easement to everybody that lives in this parcel, and Charlie Waters is behind it.
And once again, you're totally going around what I'm trying to say.
No, you're totally missing the point.
Okay.
The whole
I think
deception,
you're
the whole
trying to miss
trouble,
the point.
no. Charlie
Okay?
Waters.
All I'm telling you is he just wants
He
you
wants
to know that
all right,
he doesn't want you to start anything with him.
Here's what came up in the meeting, okay? Charlie Waters came up with this in the meeting. So this is what I'm going to tie all this in. Charlie Waters said, they said, well, what if people don't pay their fines? The whole meeting was about the fine process. How do we fine? When do we fine? How many notices before we fine? And Charlie Waters said, well, finally, he said, what we'll finally do, our final act before we go to the lawyers is we're going to take away their privilege to use the clubhouse or participate. We're going to take their membership away to use the clubhouse and all the facilities here. That's how we're going to get to them.
Okay.
Well, I don't use that clubhouse. I never have. When I bought these houses 12 years ago, the realtor told me, he said, they were very unpopular. When you bought these houses, everybody disliked it. Everybody here disliked the fact that you, as a single person, tied up 3 of the best lots on the course. They treat you like you're a glutton. Nobody in Buckeye was going to buy them because they were priced too high. But they resent the fact that you came from California and bought all 3 of these lots all for yourself. We didn't like it, and nobody in Buckeye liked it.
Okay.
All right, that's my first thing. Now, 3 weeks later, after closing all 3 houses, Charlie Waters was told to me it was him. He won't admit it because Charlie Waters won't admit anything. Charlie Waters came over to my house while I was in the shower, and I had a nephew that was staying with me for a week. I came down to open up the house for a week. All right, I was on vacation. This was 3 weeks after I closed the house. Charlie Waters came up to the front door as a representative of the Men's Association. And he asked for me, and this 17-year-old kid answered the door. My nephew from New York. He came out here so he could go to LTI, what's that? Institute, that car place where they teach you how to, anyway. The kid wanted to go through the campus. I said, I'm going to be out there, I'm going to open the house up for a week. You can come down, I'll take you to campus if you help me open up the house. I had to get shutters. I had to get garage door openers. I had to get microwaves, stuff like this. While I was taking a shower, somebody, and I've been told it was Charlie Waters. He won't admit it because he was the president of Men's Club. This is 12 years ago when nobody was here. He was the president of Men's Club. He came here to invite me to join the Men's Club. The house was empty. We'd only been here 2 days. When I closed the house was empty. I went back to San Francisco. 3 weeks later, I come down. Now I got to get everything, the garage doors, the this, the that. And the kid's helping me. While I'm taking a shower, Charlie hands the door and hands the kid a thing saying, here, ask your uncle if he wants to join the Men's Club. Meanwhile, and the reason Charlie was here, he was prospecting for non-compliant. You see, right over there was the sales office. So when they saw people out here, the first thing Charlie did was get a handful of forms, beat feet over here, and knock on my door looking for non-compliance. When the kid answered the door, he's 17 years old, and the first 2 pieces of furniture I bought before leaving for San Francisco after closing the house was two futons. They were in the front room. So when Charlie knocked on the door and he sees this kid and he looks over his shoulder and sees 2 futons, he goes back and tells the manager to write me up. Send him a letter for having kids. He's got 3 kids living in his house underage. This place wasn't even built out.
Okay.
This was 12 years ago. This is what Charlie Waters did to me. This why.
What I'm gonna recommend doing is just ignore the guy.
I'm letting you know. Charlie Waters.
Well, unfortunately, sir, I can't listen to your story.
I'm
not here to arrest you. Okay.
You got the story.
So all I'm trying to do is make sure that you stay away from him, and he knows to stay away from you.
Wait a minute. Charlie Waters invited me to speak.
Okay.
I spoke, and when I was trying to speak, this man that run the agricultural committee didn't want the story to come out. He didn't want the story to come out where they rescinded my gutters after 6 weeks. They let me spend $3,000 in 6 weeks of time.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a civil issue anyway.
Only they can send me it so that when I was trying to tell this story to Charlie yesterday, the guy in charge of the architectural committee that generated that letter last year at Christmas time didn't want to hear the story.
Okay.
He didn't want Charlie to hear the story, so he
Well,
started
I'm not
it
here
on
about
me.
any kind of architectural
Well, you've got
problem
the story,
or
all
any
right?
kind
I
of
don't know
HOA.
where you're from. Where are you from?
So, I'm from Europe.
You're from Europe.
I'm from Europe.
You ever live in a high-density place?
I have.
All right, where people rub elbows?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we happen to be living in a neighborhood where they understood when they bought in that everything is common area. Everybody that bought here is common area. If it's a common area, it's tax-free. If it's a common area, we all have access to it. Now, I want you to do one more thing before you leave. Is walk down to the corner so I can explain to you what Charlie Waters
I'm
did.
not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with
okay.
that. Just
All
stay
right,
away
of course
from
you
him,
don't.
all right? Don't talk to him.
For you to tell me to stay away from Charlie, unless I go to the clubhouse, I never see him.
Well, like I
And
said,
the reason,
try to avoid
the
him.
reason this started
You know what I'm saying?
yesterday
If you
is
see
he
him, just
invited
kind
me.
of do your thing.
He invited me, and when I started telling the story, the other board member didn't want that story to come out. So he kept
You gotta
challenging
understand
me.
that there's
and
a lot of
degraded
people
and it
when it
degraded
comes
and
to
it degraded.
like HOA meetings.
Yeah. Well,
So they're not gonna all do is disagree.
well, you've said your piece. I'm never going to talk to Charlie Waters. And the thing
That's
is,
all. That's all he wants, and we've told him the same
Yeah,
thing.
but
when
I
he
have a
make-
right to
Hold on,
talk to
hold
him.
on.
Charlie
And that's the same
Waters
thing
is
we
a
told
public
him.
official.
We're like, hey, if
He's
you know,
a public
you see him,
official.
don't make any contact with him either.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me now, as a member of dues pay, then I can quit paying dues? Then?
No, what I'm telling you
No,
is he's
a
saying you're
member.
harassing him.
No, I'm not harassing him. I
Sir,
ask him
I'm done
questions.
arguing with you.
No, I ask him questions. I've been
Have a good
very
day, sir.
direct and honest with you, and I haven't threatened you once. That's the way I deal with people. And Charlie Waters has a problem with it.
All right, sir.
He doesn't want anybody talking to
Like
him
I said,
that.
just
because you
let
don't
it be.
go like this to Charlie
all right.
Waters.
Have a good
you
day,
don't
sir.
like it.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Goodness gracious.